I'm so bored. What should I do? Maybe I should check back on my YouTube for once.
What?
Hey guys, I just wanted to take the time to say thank you for 10k views on my previous video. Make it make sense. Thank you so much for tolerating me. I'm glad I was able to help you guys out in some way. Anyway, enjoy the video.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. Sorry it's been so long again. You know, I'm not very good with consistency. For this video, I thought it might be a good idea to sort of answer some of you guys' questions from the last video. I've let them accumulate for a few months. Originally that was out of laziness, but then I thought, you know what, I'd let a few of them gather, and then I would answer them all at once. So in this video, I'm going to give you guys some quick tips on a few different things to kind of clear the air on the mysticism around Avastar. So starting out, let me just screencast. There we go. Okay, so now you guys can see what I'm doing. So first I'm going to delete the cube because we don't need it, and I'm going to go Shift A and add in under Avastar, complete the Avastar mesh model. Now currently I'm running, I think, Blender 2.91, I think. But it's basically the same in all the versions above 2.8. I can also do a tutorial on 2.79 and before, if that's something that you guys need, because I do have Avastar in that version of Blender. But starting out, we have some comments asking about breathing poses, and those are actually quite simple. What I would suggest is first, you know, setting up your pose like you usually would by setting your first keyframe with all of them selected, and then with A, select all, I, and then location rotation, and then come down to the little arrow over here and press it, and then press this, and then you can see all of the bones. And then, like always, you would mute the origin, and then I also got a question on, if you can't see these colors, how do you know which bones to mute? Now, I know that that might be visually a bit frustrating, but the concept is still the same. So you would still mute the origin like always, and then if your bones aren't in the same order as this, then I would suggest just quickly having a little read which bone is which. So the naming should always stay the same. So the ones that I always delete are the eyes, you know, unless I decide to do a pose that includes these. So first I would delete the eyes, the face. As you can see, these all start with face, 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 face. Face for face until it gets a collar left. So I would delete all of these. You won't need these unless you want to pose the face in an unchanging pose. So I would mute all of these you can mute. There we go. So yes, now in order to activate the breathing poses, you'll have to set a few, what I like to call tween poses, or in-between poses. So first you would dictate how long you want your animation to be, and as you can see, as I'm moving this, here on the side, this is moving as well. I can also drag this, and it'll move where you are on the animation timeline. And then the way that you dictate how long, how much of the timeline you can see is up here. So we won't be needing 250 frames, maybe 40 something really short, or if you want something slightly longer, 80 maybe, you know, you'll want to have it set to an even number so that the tweens don't get too complicated. So the first one will be set to 1 or 0, you know, like is standard. And then you might want to set one in the middle. So again, A, I, location rotation. And then you might want to set another one at the end, which could just be the same one as the beginning, in order to create that loop. So A, I, location rotation. And then you might go to the middle one, and now this is where I suggest turning on this button, which now no longer looks like a little diamond. It used to look like a little diamond like this, but now it looks like a circle. And this is auto keying. And what this means is that if you make a change, you won't have to press A and then I and location rotation. It'll do it for you. So now if I were to do this on this frame, and then I press all, well actually no, I don't even need to press all. You can see that it visually changes because it's done it for me. So some people were saying that they were having issues with their poses not turning up, and that might be because they've forgotten to keyframe the pose with A, I, location rotation. So in those cases, I would suggest before you do any posing, just turn this on, and then it's done, and you can work very simply. So for the actual breathing pose, I'm going to Alt-R reset the pose, and then it's quite simple with breathing poses because you just want a very gradual sort of up and down. And the way you can do this is you can actually just grab this and position it like that. Or if it's acting funny, you can just rotate it, you know, how you would. And as you can see, this has created a high point. And so now if we play the pose, you can see that it's very gradual. And so basically what you would do is first you would pose your whole avatar how you want her or him. And then you would go into a middle pose like this, and you would just do that with the chest. Just a tiny little sort of up and down, that kind of a thing. If you want to do a long breath and then a short breath, what you would do is you would do this, and you would then extend it double, and then if we're doing this one on 40, then it would be on 120. You would do the slightly less up breathing pose, high point. And then again, you would duplicate the 80 to 160. Now, the way that you duplicate a pose is by pressing A for all, and then you click on the top, you scroll all the way up, and then you click on where it says summary. You click on that keyframe because that will select every keyframe of every bone under it. And then you press Shift D for duplicate, and you drag across to where you want it, and you click, and it'll duplicate it. So now you can see I've gotten rid of that breathing frame because I've duplicated that. But yes, now let's say undo. Let's say I don't want to do that, and instead I want to delete some bones that maybe, even though you've muted them, are still showing up in world. And the way you can do this is by just deleting those keyframes. So with all selected, if for example you don't want the right arm to animate, what you can do is you can select all of those bones like so, and then with control and drag, I'm just going to deselect that one because I don't want that one. You can see I have right, and then, you know, it'll all just be the right one. And, you know, accordingly, if you select a leg, it'll all say hip, knee, left, you know, whatever. You can then go through and select the keyframes in here, like so, and then you have to take the cursor over here to scroll, and then press Shift and continue dragging, Shift, continue dragging until you have all of them selected, and then you can press Delete on your keyboard, delete keyframes. And then you can see that those aren't there anymore, which is good if you don't want them in your final export. And then coming down to the export, over here in the Render Properties tab, I got a question on using dev kits rather than using the Avastar avatar to create poses. And I would highly suggest that you don't do that, because dev kits are set up specifically for rigging to that body. They are not really set up to be compatible with other bodies in poses and stuff like that. They can behave a bit strangely. So I would suggest always using the Avastar body. However, you can test. And the way that I would suggest to do that is here under mode. We always export in Anim because it's easier to set the priority and stuff that way, because you can just do it directly here in Blender. You can set it as high as you want. However, if you switch over to BVH, you can see the menu changes. And that way you know you've selected BVH, if for some reason it doesn't show it to you up here. And the good thing about BVH is that you can test your local files. And I will log into the beta grid now, and I will show you exactly what I mean. Okay, so in order to export a BVH, first what you'll want to do is, like always, select your start frame and end frame. So in this case, the start frame would be 1, the end frame would be 80. 180. You want to uncheck apply armature scale like before, and then the loop calculator. Again, you would want to, in this case, select 1 and 80, because we don't have any ease in or ease out frames, because this is just a testing pose. But if you had ease in and ease out frames, say for example 0 was your ease in frame and 81 was your ease out frame, then you'd want to not include those in this loop. You would want to include only from 1 until 80 into this loop. So now we can go to export avatar action, and I will just put it on my desktop. Avatar action.bvh, that's fine. Export animation, and then in the beta grid, I will go up to build, upload, animation like before. Now I'll navigate to where I have that animation. So it's over here, and then we'll press open. And as you can see, my avatar goes a bit strange. Now, this might not happen for you if you have an AO on, in which case I would just detach that, or here I would uncheck that. And then I would first and foremost press loop, and then priority, just set it super high, just whilst you're testing, just so that it overrides anything you might have attached that might be overriding it. Now, as you can see, the BVH import panel is a bit odd in comparison to the one before, and this might overwhelm people, and that's why I always suggest uploading as a .anim, so that you've already done all of this in Blender and it's a little bit more straightforward. So first you press loop, you set the priority as high as possible, and then you just press play. And as you can see, it's looping. Now, it might not show everything, and that might have to do with this percentage. And again, this is why I just tell people to test with BVH and not upload as BVH, because it can be a bit iffy, you know. So first I will set this as 50% and this as 50%. And as you can see, that hasn't really done much. In fact, it's put it so that everything is like that. But you can also very slowly test like this. Anyway, so now we can cancel that, and we know that the breathing animation works. Then we can switch back to .anim, and you can set the start frames, ease in, ease out. I would just leave this on the default. Priority, again, here you can set it higher than you can in the BVH import menu, if you need that. And then just make sure to loop animation, select your loop. If it hasn't, you know, taken it over, then export avatar anim, export animation, and build, upload animation, and there it is. And then you just upload it and play in world. And as you can see, because we deleted that arm, that's now not animated, but the breathing pose, as you can see, is working. So yes. Okay, so now I have a new Blender window open, and again I'm going to delete the cube, because now I'm going to show you how it would work if you wanted to import couples poses. That was also a question that I got a few times, was how do you import couples poses? And the principle is the same. Let me just make sure screencast is still on. Yes, okay. The principle is the same. You would first, like always, AI, location, rotation. Why is it not? It's very strange. There we go. AI, location, rotation. Open this. Mute the origin. You would pose your avatar like, you know, like you would want to. Let's say you want arms, you know, slung around each other's shoulders, something like that. This is going to be a bit janky because I'm trying to show you guys as fast as possible. But yes, so you would do this, AI location rotation, or turn on auto keying. And then you would export this animation. Now, what I suggest doing with couples poses is getting one exactly how you want it, and then playing around with the second one until it fits with the other one. Now, the only couples poses that I have done thus far have been for same-sex avatars. The reason being that they will generally have more so the same height than male and female avatars, because I don't know if you've noticed this, but females on Second Life tend to be very short and males tend to be extremely tall, and that can look very strange. So what I would suggest is making your poses for same height-ish avatars, and then telling people to adjust their heights in your ad, maybe. So first we set up the first pose. You know, picture that we have more poses here, and then I would export it like usual. And then once you're done with the first pose, I would go up to pose mode, go to object mode. Then I would move this to the side so that it's not in the way, and deselect it. Make sure you're not on this. You see this is circled. You don't want that. Make sure something else is selected, because otherwise, if you add in your Avastar, it'll add it in to here. And you don't want that. That can be a bit overwhelming and chaotic. So just, I don't know, click on the camera or something else you have on the scene. And then go Shift A, Avastar complete again. And you'll see that it'll add in another one. And if this gets confusing for you, you can rename them. So pose 1, pose 2. As long as you're leaving alone everything in here, it should be fine. You can totally rename these over, like, folders. Okay, so now, like before, as you can see the bones of this one. That can be a bit confusing. So first, it might put you back into pose mode. So just go back out of pose mode and press H on your keyboard to hide the bones of this avatar. If you ever need them again, you just press the eye icon here, and it'll hide and unhide them. Now, if you want to actually hide the avatar, then that is in here. These are the avatar's meshes, and you can hide these like so. But if you're doing a couples pose, you ought to, want to actually see them. So now, going back to the second avatar, you would click on a bone, and then go back into pose mode. And as you can see, you can now only see this avatar's bone. So now you can very safely press AI, location rotation, and you're only working on this avatar. You don't need to worry about the other one. And then again, you would mute the origin and whatever else you need to mute. And then you would, arrange the bones however you might want them. This is awful, but however you might want it. And then AI location rotation again. Now you have, let me just hide these bones, a couple's pose, so to speak. And then again, you could export this avatar's pose, and then in world, you just upload the two poses separately, so one after the other. The way I suggest you test is first you upload the one that you're happy with, or if you're on the beta grid, then you just go to the beta grid and do all of this. But if you don't have beta grid access, I would suggest uploading the one you like first, and then doing the BVH test with the second one until you're happy with it. So over and over, just cancel upload, fix it in Blender, export again, re-upload through BVH, local test. If you don't like it, do it again and again and again. It can take ages with poses. It's why I don't do poses very often. But it's a more thorough way of testing. So, yes. I just wanted to, cover some ground on some issues that people had in the comments and kind of put it to you guys to ask, what would you like to see next? I was thinking about maybe doing a tutorial on some simple rigging, maybe of some rings or some nails, because those are sort of the most basic things that you can rig. I personally am not that great at rigging, and a friend of mine tends to help me with my rigging, but rings and nails I can do myself. I would also like to do a tutorial on physics when it comes to uploading builds, such as backdrops, interactive props, stuff like that. But I first wanted to ask you guys, is that something you wanted to see? Do you have any other suggestions? I might also do some videos on things like tattoos, makeup appliers, for example, for Lelutka, Evo X, or I can also do for Genus, because I have both those dev kits. So yes, that's basically it. Make sure to subscribe if you want to be notified when I, every blue moon, upload another video. And please do let me know what you thought in the comments. And if you have any more questions, then feel free to leave them there. Bye, guys!